Okay, so warm up. This is on the last page of your notes, page 21. We're going to write. This is before we're going to do our little writing check for understanding here as soon as we're done going over this. I just have a couple things to say about this problem. And then a couple things I wanted to mention just now that I've taught writing like 4 classes. There was like some good questions that I got that I want to clarify. And then after that, I also have a couple things I want to clarify on the test review. So we kind of got a lot going on. When you're writing from graphs, you kind of need to go through your checklist and find all the different parts. So we're obviously looking for asymptotes, vertical and horizontal. If we have x-intercepts, we need those because those have a part in our rational form. Holes in the graph also have a part in our rational form. You really only need the x value of the hole. Y value doesn't matter as far as writing. And then it's nice to have a y-intercept, but this particular problem, is your y-intercept a clear, nice, pretty whole number that you know? No. So if you don't have the y-intercept, and it is possible, a lot of times we did give you that, or it was nice, but I want you to know if it's not, just use another point, another good point, and I think I called it good point. That's what I wrote last period. So what is another good point on the graph that I could use to check?
1, 4.
1, 4. Okay, this point right here. So if you don't know the y-intercept or it's like a decimal and you don't want to use that, if you can find another one and you're like, hey, this is a solid point, like go for it with that. Okay? All right, so what's our vertical asymptote?
3.
How do you write it?
Equals 3.
X equals, good. Make sure you're all getting that right. If you get that backwards or leave it off, you're going to miss points on this test. X equals 3. What's your HA?
Y equals 2.
Y equals 2. I'm going to draw that in. X-intercept, do we have one?
Yes.
Yeah.
5.
Yes.
It's at 5. Write your intercepts as an ordered pair. Hole in the graph, do we have one?
Yes.
What X value is it at?
-2.
-2. Now, for writing equations, you really don't need that Y value. For identifying, because topic 1 is going to say, hey, here's some graphs, identify, or here's an equation, identify. You would need to either calculate from the equation what the Y value is, or if it was from a graph, we would tell you, we'd put parentheses so you kind of have an idea of what it actually is, but for writing, we don't need it. And again, we grabbed a good point because the y-intercept wasn't pretty. Now let's review. In rational form, you don't have to write this down if you really know this, but I'm just going to kind of talk one more time through this. In rational form, factored form, which is how I want you to write these equations, you only have certain things that are factors. What are the things that are factors?
X-intercepts.
X-intercepts are factors in the top.
Holes, which are in both.
Holes, if there is a graph, that is a factor in the top and the bottom. And vertical asymptote is a factor in the, so I'm going to write bottom right here. I'm going to write top right here. I'm going to write both. These are the only actual things that would give you possible factors. Now, we need to know what our HA and what our good point is in order to kind of confirm that everything is done correctly. But when you're writing in factored form, there's not really a spot that the HA goes necessarily. And there's not going to be a spot in factored form that the y-intercept goes. Okay? Because we're writing in factored form. Yes?
So do we not write anything for the y-intercept for this?
Not for this one, because I don't. I once I get my equation, we could calculate it, but I don't know for sure. So, but this is going to help me check my HA. This is gonna be my checkpoint.
Y-intercept, will we put that in?
Yeah, I just use the y-intercept as a checkpoint, which instead I'm using this as a checkpoint.
So then we don't use it as the final form.
No, so this is one question that came up yesterday when I taught B-Day this lesson, and then it reminded me that I have this happen every year. If you happen to know your y-intercept, we can find our y-intercept from our rational form, but remember it's in standard. That's why I put a box around it, okay? And I'm not asking you to write in standard. Your y-intercept is how your constants simplify, but it never fails that on this test, I'll have people write their factors and they're putting all their factors in the right place, but then all of a sudden they'll just be plus 6. Like, no. You don't have to, like, actually, when you write in factored form, write in your y-intercept. It's more of a checking thing, okay? And I'll show you what I mean in just a minute. And then same thing with your HA. It's really only seen in standard form. So what we need to consider with the HA is, okay, to get 1 at y equals 2, what case do we have to be in? If you're getting y equals a number, not 0, what case do you have to be in? Cocoa, which means what has to be true about the degree?
They're the same.
They have to be the same. This is the only case that those coefficients really matter. We need our coefficients to simplify to be 2. So here we go. Let's write it all out. Let's put our factors in. That's the main thing. VA goes in the bottom. So what's my factor in the bottom?
X minus 3.
X minus 3. And then I can check this. X-intercept goes in the top.
X minus 5.
X minus 5. Check. Hole in the graph goes in.
Top and bottom.
And the factor is
X plus 2.
X plus 2. These are the only factors that I can actually like plug in that have a space. Now, the rest of this stuff I'm going to use to just confirm. First thing, am I going to be in cocoa?
Yes.
What's the degree going to be here?
2.
2, because this is going to be x squared. What's the degree going to be here?
2.
Because this is going to be x squared. But because, so I'm in the same degree, but I need my coefficients. This is the one time when you're in cocoa that you need your coefficients to simplify to be what? 2. So what's the easiest way to do that?
2 over 1.
Put a 2 in the front. 2 over 1. Okay, could you do 4 over 2? Sure. 8 over 4? Sure, but it's going to be easier just to put a 2 right there. Okay, now this should take care of all that. But I want you to be in the habit, and I'm going to call this A right here. I want you to be in a habit of using your good point, whether it be a y-intercept or a rando. I want you to be in the habit of using this to confirm and make sure that the math makes sense, okay? Because remember, if you accidentally mislabel your HA, you'll catch it here. Or if you're in the case like question 9, where it was your HA was at y equals 0, you have to figure out what specific coefficient makes us go through a specific point, okay? It's not just bigger on bottom. You have to figure out what exactly goes there. So I found over the years, if I make you always check that A value, you're less likely to forget to do it when you actually need to, okay? So that's why we're going through this. So here's my checkpoint. So I'm checking not 0 something, I'm checking the point 1,4. So this is my X, this is my Y. So here's my setup. My setup says Y, I'm plugging in a 4. Again, I'm going to leave that box as A for now because I'm checking, okay? And I'm going to solve for it. This time, the X value I'm plugging in is 1. 1 minus 5 is what number?
Negative 4.
-4. 1 plus 2 is what number?
3.
Okay, this is a multiplication, guys, because it's factored. Over 1 minus 3?
Negative 2.
-2. 1 plus 2?
3.
3. And again, it's multiplication. But I didn't do this last class, and B-Day was like, why are you not? And I said, I don't know. No one brought it up on A-Day, but you can. Do you see how you have a common factor of 3 right here? You could simplify it out. Absolutely. This is a product on the top and a product on the bottom. So if you notice that, like there's a hole in the graph, go ahead. Sure. That's another way. There's a multitude of ways you can do this. So this is going to give me 4 is equal to negative 4A over negative 2. What's negative 4 over negative 2? So 4 equals 2A. What does A equal to? Does that check with what I have over here? So I know this is right. Okay? So it's good practice because, again, if you make a mistake here, you should catch it. Also, when you absolutely need it, which is a case like number 9, hint, you are going to have to do it. Okay?
Need it in number 9.
Because number 9, the HA is at y equals 0. So even without that number there, my degree is bigger on the bottom. Bigger on the bottom doesn't matter what the coefficients are. You could be bigger on the bottom if you have a 4 there, if you have a negative 4 there, if you have a negative 500. You're still going to be bigger on the bottom because it's a degree 2 versus a degree 1. So why it matters here is because we need this 4 is what makes certain that our y-intercept is correct.
So if your HA, if the coefficient is 1, do you put it or no?
If it's solved and you got A equals 1, then no, you do not have to do that. But again, you have to have another point to make sure that it goes through. Now, here's where you also could, if I asked you to find your y-intercept in here, you could look at it. You just multiply 2 times -5 times 2. That would be the constant in standard form. Over here, the constant would be -3 times 2. So you could work back and find it that way as well. There was one on the homework. I don't know where my homework key is because I don't know where anything is. Oh, yeah, I do. Right here. It was this one. I answered this question a lot in tutorials. This question was 21. Your x-intercept was 1/2. Okay, I'm going to write this to the side for just a second. If your x-intercept, here we go, our x-intercept was 1/2, 0. I don't want you guys to write that as a factor, x minus 1/2. That's not how we write factors, okay? Not even minus 0.5. I don't want you to do that. You need to think way back. We did this in quadratics, okay? If you work backwards, it's x equals 1/2. Clear out the denominator. Multiply by 2. 2x equals +1. Set it equal to 0. You get 2x.
Wait, so is that if we write x minus...
If you write x minus 0.5 or x minus 1/2, I will take off a few points. Yes. Because we don't write factors that way. And we've gone over this, so make sure you're listening. So this should be 2x minus 1. So what ends up happening here, I'll show you my work right here. So I put everything I know. I put my x-intercept. I wrote out the work on here so you can see. I had to put a factor for my hole in the graph. And then I put in my vertical asymptote. This is problem 21 on your homework. To get y equals 2 as an HA, what case do I have to be in? Coco, which means my degree has to be the same. Okay? What's your degree going to be here?
2. Positive.
Degree 2, because you have 2x squared. What's your degree? Or you have x squared. What's your degree going to be here? Also x squared. But if you were to actually go and multiply this out, what's 2x times x? 2x squared. On the bottom, if you were to multiply out, you have x squared. Do you need to put a number in front here, or is your coefficient simplified already to 2? What? It's already simplified. So that's why I scribbled out right here, because I'm already in Coco, because I've got 2 factors and 2 factors, and my coefficients are already simplifying to 2/1. Yeah.
How did you get 2x minus 1?
Okay, this is what's going to be on Canvas by end of day tomorrow, because I have a 4B class. The test review I just handed you, there's a couple notes I want to make. I am working on a review key that will be posted, okay, on Canvas. I probably will get that posted today so you can at least check your answers. CFU keys, there were 3. I have them up here, and I'll have them in my room. I will post all 3 of these answer keys end of day tomorrow. The CFUs are really good, okay? Especially like good types of questions. The test review is more like merged. The CFU is more into like the actual topics. Like topic 1 is identifying. That's the 10-1 to 10-2. That's identifying from equations. There's also identifying from graphs, but that's easier. 10-3 and 10-4 is more of your graphing and writing. That aligns more with topic 2. Okay, so the CFUs are really good. Utilize those to study. The practice key, that's what I went around and checked. I will get that posted end of day tomorrow as well. So that way you can check your work with that. Of course, I have all these here. You're welcome to come look at this today. Whatever. Unit 10 test, 2 grades, Thursday, Friday. If you are not going to be here Thursday, you have the class Monday next week to take this test. If Monday doesn't work, you need to let me know. Okay, it's up to you to communicate. Next week is open or left open for makeups and retests. Okay, tutorials have been crazy. I will tell you right now, if you are planning to take the Unit 9 retest, you need to come in and you need to review. And you need to figure out what you did wrong, and I need to give you some things to practice because It's been a while. That test was hard. That retest is hard. And we haven't really done that stuff in a bit. So you need to make sure that you understand. Do something in between now and then because I'm tired of grading retests that are not good. Okay? All right, so that's what's happening then. Everyone clear?
Yeah.
You have to communicate with me if you're missing stuff. Otherwise, that's on you. Okay, test review. Final thing I wanted to mention. The first thing is problem 1 has you graphing from transformations. I want to remind you that was from section 10.1. We did graph from transformations a little bit on 10.3, I think. But this was like something that I feel like y'all forgot a lot in the homework. Use a table. Make a table. What are your parent function points for transformations?
1,
-1, and +1. Okay, go look at 10.1. That will help you with that. The other thing, like on your CFU, when it's in transformation form, I do expect you to be able to tell me the range. Okay, so add that in on number 1. Number 2 is a writing. I trust that you can figure out what form you should write that in based on the descriptions. Number 3, this is kind of the last one. There's not like typos on this or anything, but here's the thing with number 3, okay? You're writing. That's what we just did. We know that when we write, we go through our checklists of stuff, but here's this graph, it just kind of stinks. Is your x-intercept a nice, pretty, clear number?
No.
Is your y-intercept a nice, pretty, clear number?
No.
What's the only thing that's actually kind of good and clear on this? The asymptotes. So let's go ahead and label those. Vertical asymptote, horizontal asymptote. What is the vertical asymptote?
5.
How do you write it? And the horizontal is
Y equals
-3. Okay? Because none of the other points are really very nice and pretty and we don't want to guesstimate, I'm not able to write this in rational form. Okay? So I'm going to do this one with you. I'm going to remind you that we haven't seen anything like this in our notes. So it's not something I would stress about horribly, but I just want to show you it is possible to write if you don't know those other attributes, and there's no holes in the graph and there's only one vertical asymptote, you can write in transformation form. You need some extra information that I'm going to give you, but we're going to write this one. We're all going to get this down, and then we're going to continue about the test review, doing what we've been doing, okay? In transformation form, remember, you can see your asymptotes. So where does your vertical asymptote go in transformation form?
Oh,
It's your C value.
the bottom.
Goes in the bottom. So what's going to go in the bottom?
X minus 5.
X minus 5. Your horizontal asymptote in transformation form actually has a spot. Where is it? It's the D value. So I need to put at the end of this fraction A, -3. Now, we need to figure out, has there been a stretch, reflection, or compression? I'm not going to spend time talking about how to do that. If you're curious, I can tell you. But here's what I will tell you. The A value here is just 1. There has not been a stretch, reflection, or compression. So what goes in that numerator?
1.
1. And this suffices as your answer. We didn't do a lot of this.
So it's
I
not.
wouldn't stress too much about it, but it is possible to write in that form. And if you would like to know how to find the A other than me telling you what it is, come talk to me
Is it
after the test.
Is it possible to disagree on
I need you to catch on what I'm saying.
Okay, sorry.
Yes.
I thought the -3 was like the y-intercept.
No. In transformation form, the D value is your horizontal asymptote.
So then, okay.
You're thinking of the other form, and that's the constants. Okay, flip over. The next ones, again, this test review isn't like split. Here's topic 1, here's topic 2. This test review is all of it. Because if you can do all of it, it doesn't really matter what the topics are. So go through your checklist of all this and find all this stuff. Some of you guys are really struggling with graphs. Graphs, you are going to need test points. So she kind of labeled, this is giving you a piece of information right now. It says between vertical asymptotes. How many vertical asymptotes are you going to have on number 4? You're going to have 2. Okay? It is suggested that between vertical asymptotes, you get at least 3 points. Because remember, between vertical asymptotes, there's 2 possibilities. There's that it can be kind of twisting, or that it can be more of a parabola. So you're going to need a couple test points to figure out what's really going on here. The good news is, here's a hint. You end up getting 2 points in between here from your y-intercept and x-intercept. So as far as testing goes, you don't have to test as many as these are because some of the points in here will fall in some of these tables sometimes. So it just kind of saves you. But again, be smart about it. Choose whole numbers closest to the vertical asymptotes for those test points, okay? And I can help you with that. And then you've got to be able to kind of do your curves from there. Don't think there's anything crazy happening on 5. Let me look through my key real quick. And remember, test points come from, like, simplify down the equation, use that reduced form if you take out wholes or anything like that. Number 6. No, there's nothing with number 6. 7 gets to writing. 8 gets to writing. What's your HA on number 8?
0.
So what do you got to be careful about here?
The coefficient.
So if your HA is y equals 0, what case are you in? Bigger on bottom, so what do you need to make sure you go do?
Find the A.
Find the A value. Use a point and find the A. Okay? If you don't know what I'm talking about, you need to figure that out real quick. And then 9's not bad either. So I have an answer key to this. I don't think there's any corrections or anything that there need to be. But I just kind of wanted to help you with some of the transformation stuff because it's been a minute. Again, I've got review answer keys. I've got homework answer keys. I've got CFU answer keys. And now you got the rest of the class to work. Okay? When is this due? What happens if you don't have it done? What happens if you don't have 4 check marks for 10.4 and you know who you are because you're doing academic lunch? What happens if you don't do that? No retest. Okay?
I mean, you can't recall.
It has to be due on the test day. All the practice and all the review is due Thursday. Communicate with me if you're going to be out.